Daddy, what are you doing?
We're recording a podcast.
Who's listening?
Islander fans are listening.
Where are they?
Well, they're right here.
Welcome to the Isles Faithful Podcast with your host, Michael Sherline.
Welcome back to the Isles Faithful Podcast. I am your host, as always, Michael Sherline, and this is episode number 33. The sweep edition of the playoffs on the heels of the Islanders completely shutting the Pittsburgh Penguins down and advancing to the second round for the first time, well, the second time really, in the last 3 years. But very special guest laughing in the background right now. Somebody you guys love, somebody I love. He was on the show earlier this season. I'm talking about Mark Parrish. Mark, what's up?
Oh, not a whole lot. I'm in the middle of playoff hockey, watching the Islanders sweep my buddy Cully, and I loved it. Don't tell him I said that, but that was awesome. I should have waited a few more episodes to episode 37.
You can always come back.
You let me know.
We'll just make it just everything about number 37, our favorite guy here, Mr. Net Front Presence, as I introduced you the last time.
It's only because I was too slow to keep up with Batesy anywhere else.
Speaking of Bates, how about that little nod to him at the Coliseum last Friday? How awesome was that?
You know, as hockey players never cry. Oh, that brought a tear to my eye. That was just awesome. You know, that moment, you know, obviously Batesy will be a part of Islander lore forever from that one moment. And that's exactly what you dream for as a player, just to be part of something like that. Of course, we want it to be a Stanley Cup, but at the same time, you never know when that moment might present itself. And he took advantage of it. And what can I say? I love that Boston boy.
You know, once an Islander, always an Islander. It doesn't matter whether you play your entire career here or you play bits and pieces of one season and only do one great thing. It doesn't really matter. You're always going to be endured to Islander fans and always remembered, as you know very well yourself.
I do, and I can't thank the fans still and yourself and everybody for the support I still get, for crying out loud. Boy, we were a long ways away from HD when I watched the videos of us in 02. It's probably a good thing, because I probably would have got called for some goalie interference back then. But the game was different. But man, I can't thank you guys enough. It's I honestly feel like an honorary New Yorker, and for this Midwestern slow talking boy, it's pretty special and something I will hold near and dear to my heart forever.
I love every second of it, and every chance that you get to be around Islanders hockey is great. And I know since the last time we've spoken, you're now an analyst on NHL Network. For everybody out there who can catch Mark's stuff from time to time, I know he tends to give us all a heads up when he's going to be on, and it's awesome to see you up there on the national stage.
I love it. It's the best excuse ever to tell my wife I've got to do my homework and watch every game, sweetheart. I can't, it's not just the Islanders. It's not just the Wild here in Minnesota. I got to watch every hockey game. It's my job now. It's the greatest excuse just to watch hockey.
Which is probably why she posted the picture of you the other day in your Crocs with your gloves and stick watching the big screen.
I would love to, and I kind of felt bad. I would love to say I watch every game like that. I just got brand new gloves, and there was a charity game the next day, and I was just kind of want to see how they feel, if I could break them in a little bit. And sneaky wifey, and I would have taken the Crocs off if I'd have known she'd have taken a picture.
Dude, come on, they're comfortable.
All right, I love Crocs.
At least
I'm wearing the same pair right now.
Look, at least they weren't Uggs. If you were wearing Uggs, I think everyone would have given you more of a hard time.
Those were only during the season, because when the back starts getting sore, socks suck. So you just throw Uggs on to go to practice, and that's it. So other than that, nobody ever sees those, because I always kind of felt a little bit kind of like my wife on those.
You know what though? My brother-in-law wears them all the time. and they look like construction boots almost when he's got his pants over them, but I still make sure I bust his chops.
Well, that's because you love him.
I mean,
Huh?
he's okay. If he's listening, I doubt he is, but he's okay. He's a cop, so I mean, got to keep him close for certain reasons.
Well, I love him then.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a nerd, and that's why we love him. So
We all are.
oh, absolutely.
Just certain different things. We're all nerds. Don't even get me going on Game of Thrones.
I have not watched, and if we go down that road, this is going to be the least listened to episode, I'm sure. Anyway.
Okay, well, let's just stick with hockey and go back to the Islanders.
So when we spoke the last time, which was, I think, episode 9, it was early in the Islanders season. We were kind of trying to figure out what the Islanders were going to do, what Barry Trotz was going to do for them. Same with Lamoriello. And the way that this team and this roster that Lou Lamoriello constructed, which we had some questions about as well with Komarov and Filppula and Kuhnhackl. And they've obviously done great things for the goals against. Thomas Greiss and Robin Lehner won the Jennings. So to go from the most goals against to the least in the very next season is a huge feat. And here we are. We're going to talk about playoff hockey, which the both of us, I'm sure, had absolutely no intention of doing earlier in the year.
Didn't I call that episode 9 that they were going to sweep Pittsburgh first round? I thought I called that back then.
I'm pretty sure you did. And I believe you said Sidney Crosby was only going to have 1 point, and Malkin and Phil Kessel were probably only going to have 5 points between the two of them.
Incredible. It's what an incredible season. I had an argument with Mike Johnson earlier in the year on the network because he was saying that, come on, coaching doesn't really matter. They just got to throw people on the ice. I think Barry Trotz just gave my buddy Mike the biggest middle finger ever all year long, because obviously coaching matters. Nothing against Doug Waite, but what Trotz has came in and done, the system he's put in place, the way he's gotten everybody to buy in, how everyone has elevated their game. The whole season, you could see how fast they played, how well they supported each other. Different guys would step up at moments, even with Barzal not having the offensive year that he had, last year. He's still a young guy and he's still learning to play the game. So this is very good for him, and he'll figure out how to get both sides going and find that balance that. Well, I hate to do it to him, but Sidney Crosby is just such a great hockey player because he has found a balance between playing both ways, a two-way hockey player. My Lord, and Robin Lehner, my boy Robin Lehner, I love that guy from what he's gone through, what he's done. Is so amazing. But you said it too. I actually kind of feel bad for Thomas Greiss a little bit. I feel like he kind of gets overshadowed, and he played spectacular when he stepped in and got the call. He showed up, and they both won that Williams Jennings, not just Robbie.
It's funny, and not to take anything away from Thomas, because he's, like you said, had a fantastic season. The work that he put in the offseason, I believe we touched on this in episode 9. He rehired, I guess, his personal trainer that he had worked with in the past, and he really took the season he had last year to heart. And you could tell by the way that he's bounced back this year. And I'm sure also the Islanders' goaltending coaching tandem kind of helped in that regard as well. But you've got a guy in Greiss who Barry himself has said this season, I can go to him 5 minutes before a game start and say, you're in, and he doesn't care. That's the type of person he is. And I think you could tell, based on everything that he has done this year, that he'll do anything at any time, and it doesn't really matter because he's just going to go out there and win.
That is an absolute true professional, but that is also so hard. There are so few and far between players, whether it's especially a goaltender. Goalies kind of like starting pitchers. They want to know the night before. They want to kind of be ready to go. But to flip that switch, it's very, very hard. A lot of guys, Adrian O'Coin, you could kind of see his game face change the night before. There's a process to that. So one, yes, an absolute professional is professional. But two, that's just the character, his commitment to the game, his mental strength to be able to flip that switch is incredible.
I can't do that myself, even in like beer league hockey here. Like I'm glad that I have like an hour and a half drive to the rink because I got to listen to, music to get amped up. You got to do similar things. And even then
I love it.
I get there and it's like, all right, well, nobody talked to me in the locker room, you know? So I don't know on a professional level how you can just turn a switch like that. It's just, it's mind boggling to me. And, I give credit to you guys for playing even one shift in the NHL. And I brought this up the last time because it's something that I never got to do and I was never ever going to be able to do at any level. It's just that's why I have so much respect for someone who just plays at the level I do to know and to have witnessed, because I have covered the Islanders for a long time. So it's just amazing. And we're going to go down a road that we're not supposed to go down right now. So,
well, thank you. And I'm glad we're not on video because I'm blushing.
well, I do love you, so it's okay.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Now, you brought up Barzal, and he's having himself a quiet, good playoffs. And it was brought up, and I'm sure you guys brought it up on NHL Network as well. The Islanders scoring, or, the goal scorers were kind of all over the place during the season. You had a couple of guys contributing. Barzal wasn't doing what he was doing the season prior in his Calder-winning rookie year. But he's got himself 5 assists, and that's fine. If he doesn't pot a goal, but every couple of games, as long as he's contributing and passing the puck off to the people who are scoring, and you've got Nelson, Eberle, Bailey, Filppula doesn't have a goal, but he's got 4 assists. But Lee's got a goal. Beauvillier's got a goal. Even Komarov. So you got balanced scoring in the playoffs where they didn't really have balanced scoring, for stretches during the year. So I'm glad even like Eberle with his amazing playoff performance, 4 goals and 2 assists, plus 6, by the way. The things that they are able to do and the players that got hot down the stretch at the right time, fortunately for them, has just been fantastic. Give me some of your thoughts there.
The concerns that people had in November, the lineup, the depth, who's going to step up, we're finding out right now. Kuhnhackl, I mean, guys that are stepping up. And let's start with Barzal. Like, yeah, he might not have a goal, but he raised his game big time. The Bailey overtime winner, that play he made, there are a few people in the NHL that can do that. That was incredible. His patience, his poise. Bailey comes in and cleans up the mess, but you can see that offensive, I don't want to say confidence. I don't think he really ever lost confidence. It's just, it's the NHL's not easy. It's the best league in the world for a reason. And when you're a young player like he is, there's growing pains, and he's learning how to play a two-way game. I don't think there was as much of an influence on being a defensive liability as opposed to all he had to worry about is just go play. And he just let his creativity go, worry about offense, and that's great. But how did that result last year in wins and goals against and all that? And now you can see where he's putting more focus on the defensive side, on being a liability. And now all of a sudden in the playoffs, he's starting to raise his level. And that's exactly what you want to see. I mean, maybe he didn't have a goal, but he easily could have had a couple. That's the Barzal we all know and love. To go along with the rest, do we worry about the depth anymore? Martin, Cizikas, Clutterby, the whole team, great teams nowadays. And I remember it when Carolina won. That was when all of a sudden it was a realization that it was like, this isn't as much the big rough and tumble NHL where they're beating each other up. This is speed and who can just roll. They all kind of look the same. All 4 lines just rolled and rolled and rolled. And yeah, there were team lines with more skill. There were lines that stepped up for Carolina. That's how the Islanders looked against Pittsburgh. That's how Pittsburgh's looked the last few years in the playoffs. They just roll. And the amount of time that the 4th line is getting, they get out there and they dominate sometimes better than the 1st line for the Islanders. Those are exactly what you want to see in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You've got different guys stepping up at different times. You got Eberle scoring goals, Brock Nelson scoring goals. You've got all that spread out the way it is. And that's exactly what you need. You cannot rely on one guy in the playoffs. It has to be a team game. The team's got to be committed. They were playing so fast. I got to imagine that Pittsburgh felt like there was like 8 Islanders on the ice every time. Like the way they skated and supported each other. There was what I like to tell my friends, kind of a good way. It's just to tell how well they're. You hear the shrinking the rink or skating to support each other. How many Islanders are you seeing on the screen at that one time? Because the camera's following the puck, the camera's following the play. There was 4 to 5 Islanders almost every time, minimum 3. I mean, that's just incredible. They were never outnumbered against Pittsburgh. They were all back and in position. And not to take away from, obviously, the goaltending was spectacular, but that plays a big part of it too. They had help. Team grows confidence in the goaltending. Goaltending grows confidence in the team. And they just swept Pittsburgh and shut down Crosby and Malkin and Kessel and Gensel. I mean, that's just flat out incredible. That's awesome.
It's funny that you bring up the amount of Islanders on the screen because Barry Trotz has preached defense in layers all season long. That's a big part of the way that his systems work. And you could tell when Crosby's on the ice and Malkin, like you said, Gensel and even Letang to a certain extent, because look at how embarrassed they made Pittsburgh's defense at times with the turnovers and the odd man rushes. But when they would set up in the Islanders' defensive zone, they would insulate these players with 2 or 3 players at a time and force them into those turnovers. And it was, I would love to say that I saw that all season. They did do that for long stretches, but maybe the only other time they did it was when they went off on that like 10-game win streak that they had. And I'm sure that the guy who reviewed me last week is probably going to call me out on not fact checking like he did in the review.
Who cares about fact checking?
Again, I'm going on off the top of my head. I took a couple of notes today because I knew you were coming on, and there was a couple of key things that I wanted to bring up. And thankfully, the statistician for the Islanders and Eric Hornick. Eric, you're amazing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Eric.
I have a couple of things in addition on this piece of paper here that he wrote. So credit to him because he deserves all the credit there. But the things that I'm looking at on this paper just coincide with everything that you just said, and it's something that I haven't seen this team do in a really long time, if ever. And that's kind of scaring me to the point where what can this team do, especially now that
starting to believe, aren't you?
Yeah, they swept Pittsburgh, and then you got Tampa being swept by Columbus. You've got Calgary now out of it.
Toronto, so everybody saw the 2 top seeds combining for one win in the first round, right?
I'm sure you have that on your bracket, right?
Yeah.
And then now you have Toronto leading Boston, and obviously that's going to be a very tight series, so you don't really know what's going to happen. They could wind up tying tonight. And then you have the Capitals and the Canes tied as well. So you have all of these.
Look at the speed that they're making Washington look slow.
Unbelievable. And now Oshie's out too, so like that's going to take a little bit of firepower away from them. But the way that the whole entire playoffs has now opened up for all of these teams. And the Islanders, they finished second in the Metro, so it's not like they're a slouch as it is. They finished with 103 points. But everything is going to open up for them. Who knows who they're going to face in the second round as of yet. But obviously that team's going to have run through the gauntlet. And the Islanders, hopefully being rested and healed up, hopefully they, this time off is not going to be a detriment to the role that they're on. But I don't think that Barry Trotz is going to let that happen. I think he's too experienced, especially with all the times the Capitals swept over the last couple of years. I'm curious to see what's going to happen here in round number 2.
No, and I completely agree. This isn't something that Barry Trotz, that can get played up at times. Yeah. Maybe they're not quite going to be as tearing off the door to get on the ice for the first period or maybe even the first game. And that's the beauty of hockey. It's a 7-game series. It's one game, whatever it is, and maybe it's not even that. I mean, the way they're committed, the way that this team is played, and to go back to what you said, like we didn't see them play like this. Well, that's Barry Trotz's coaching. That's the goal of every coach. You're building until the playoffs, and then you're at your peak. That's when the team's playing its best, and that's exactly what every single NHL coach every single organization wants to see is exactly what the Islanders are doing.
And it's crazy that, when we talked about this as well the last time you were on, when has there ever been a coach that has won the Stanley Cup with an organization and not been with that organization the next year? And now you've got the reigning Stanley Cup coach coaching the Islanders like they're a cup contending team. And the history that can be made with this is, and I don't want to jinx anything or get way too far ahead of ourselves, but
you're not a goalie, right?
I am not a goalie.
No. See, they're the only superstitious ones.
Although I have been wearing the same shirt that I have not washed to, both the games that I attended in while I've watched at home. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Lips are sealed.
There's only a couple hundred people that listen to this, but that's fine. I'm sure some of you guys do the same thing. But anyway.
Well, when we're playing, but, when we're in public and see people, that's a little different.
No. Just on my couch the last 2 games. It's fine.
Passion and love, buddy. That's passion and love.
It is. So here's a little tidbit from Eric Hornick that I think you'll find rather amusing. The Islanders only trailed Pittsburgh for 4 minutes and 51 seconds in the entire series. And Pittsburgh had an empty net for 5 minutes and 55 seconds. That's some of the work that Eric Hornick does.
I kind of get a little, the statistics that, there's always read between the lines style thing. And it's kind of a more of a old school hockey guy. I don't necessarily buy into too many. That's fucking amazing. Like, that's amazing. That's an incredible stat. I mean, that's incredible. They had the lead less than the other. I mean, good God. Pittsburgh Penguins here. This isn't just a random team. They back-to-back Hall of Famers, MVPs. I mean, their trophy cases, from individual to team-wise, is pretty much everyone in the league is jealous of that. And that stat. That's awesome. And they believe that that's an Islanders. That's a team that just truly believes. They're committed. Their coaches got them buying in. They're playing for each other. And they flat out believe, which is the most important thing this time of year.
It is. And I believe they say, what is their expression? A machine is only as good as the sum of its parts. And each part has a very big part in the overall scheme of things. And the fact that the Islanders are not about the individual, they're about the team. I think they're embracing everything with Tavares leaving this year to a point where they're going to run through walls for each other. And as a fan, I want to run through walls for them as well, especially with the story of Leonard and obviously the Islanders all coming together like they have has just been amazing. But another quick stat from Eric, because we're on the subject of Leonard. He stopped 130 of 136 shots in the series, and he had a 1.47 goals against and 956 save percentage. That's just unbelievable. Because I don't know what the block shots or anything were, and stick tap to Johnny Boychuk for what we could only assume is some sort of broken bone in his lower body there. But the way that they all blocked shots, Mayfield in the last couple of minutes of that game 4 with the block and an open net because Leonard was at the other post.
Right.
Unbelievable defense. You got all these guys coming out now. Also, Taves, he came in December, and the Islanders have played fantastic since he's been here. The kid just looks amazing. He looks like he's been in the league for 10 years. You got
just stepped into an opportunity and grabbed it and didn't let it go.
Nope.
Loved it.
And he should have been up probably last year, but
well, it's easy to say no.
Yeah. I mean,
no,
he did.
You're right.
You're
right. And that's they care about each other, and I'm glad you brought that up too. And another good way is watch the bench. Watch when somebody scores. There's no they don't give a rat's ass who scores. That's the thing. And Robin obviously is a good rallying point for the team. The Tavares thing, obviously the team rallied around it. I got to be honest with you, I really don't want to talk about Tavares anymore. I think it's these guys have. I mean, I think they didn't deserve as a team, as players, as an organization, how much that got brought up, to be honest with you, as a player, as a former player, especially an Islander. It bothered me. I like, please, like, who gives a fuck? He's in Toronto now. Like, let us be us. And I think, to go back to your point, it did. That helped, without being in that room on a day-to-day basis, how much Trotz used that. I'm sure he did use it, harness it, whatever he did. Lamoriello, it's one of those things that just bound this team. And they just got closer and closer and closer. And you can see it, the belief, the care for each other, the commitment for each other. When somebody gets in a scrum, when guys start pushing and shoving, there's instantly 4 or 5 guys right behind them. I mean, those are all little signs of how much they care and love each other.
There was one goal. I don't know if it was in game. I think they might have been home. I don't remember. But that was the Barzal got a double minor for roughing behind the net. I don't remember who scored. It might have been Nelson, maybe, or maybe one of Eberle's goals. But they all stopped celebrating, and you could see in the clip that was online, they all rushed to the other side of the ice, like during the goal celebration. It was kind of just funny to see, like, oh, someone's messing with one of us.
That's how quickly they stopped caring about the goal and cared about, like, the goal was over at that point. Now it's like, hey, we got to take care of everybody. And and that's exactly what you want to see as a team. So, and I hope they can ride it all the way to number 5.
From your lips, bud.
I'm not superstitious.
So obviously, we also spoke with Leonard, and as much as we just recognize that it's not about the individual, but he was just nominated, or was a finalist for the Masterton Trophy. And just today, the NHL put out that he was a finalist for the Vezina as well. So just the good story of Robin Leonard just continues to move about as playoffs kind of go late season here, late or early playoffs, late playoffs even. And what going forward is going to be the end point for this guy. You look at the interviews, you look at how positive he is and how proud he is, and his teammates too. I reached out because I had heard a little bit about how the team wasn't even drinking around him. And I reached out to Kimber, and he got back to me and said, I don't know how you had heard that, but yes, it's true. And that just blew me away how, in their free time and downtime, because let's be real, as adults, I'm sure they enjoy in a beer or a beverage from time to time. And to care that much about your teammate, you're not going to put him in an uncomfortable situation, just blew me away.
The character coming out their ears. And it's just, like you said, and, I played with Robbie in Binghamton. He's just a great kid. You could see the passion. You could see the skill. You could see the potential. But, and obviously I don't want to go too deep into what was going on, but we didn't realize there was some underlying issues at that point, which makes, I was captain of that team. That makes me feel sick to my stomach. That we had some old guys that maybe we should have picked up on it. Maybe we should have, spoken to about it. But at the same time, he wasn't. It wasn't like he was. He was a goalie. Like there wasn't any signs of anything underlying either at that point to us. And to see how far he's come, and now looking back, obviously you can see there were some times like some frustration. You're like, man, we should have, whatever, hindsight 2020. I just texted him today and just not even about the Vezina, the Masterton, like just how proud of him, and not even the Islander thing, like how proud of him I am as just a man, and just being able to put this out there, to put himself out there, face it head on, and to do what he's doing then on the ice, the courage, the mental strength, all of the above, and just fearlessness that he's shown. He deserves everything that he's getting this year. Every single thing.
He also deserves a nice contract from the New York Islanders, and I need it to happen. I know you probably saw the connection between him and little Jack Foley, who he asked for a stick with the sign. The last home game of the season was that against Toronto.
Yeah, again, hockey players never cry.
Never, dude.
Never.
I had
Oh.
Jack and his mom on. I had the pleasure of meeting them at that game prior to, and they invited me downstairs. Me and Sean, who actually does all those handmade drawings of
Yeah.
scenes and stuff.
Yeah, I got Lucky Seven's one signed by all of us. The only one that's signed by all of us, by the
There
way.
you go. He did mention that to me, yes. So
Kind of proud of that.
He and I went downstairs, and his mom invited us down there, and we kind of hung off to the side and let them go down the tunnel to have their moment with Robin because we didn't want to impose. But when I had Jack and his mom on the podcast a couple weeks back, I said, Jack, how was that hug? And he said, he's huge. He made all my bones crack. And I said, I know you're only 8 and you're not going to understand what I'm going to tell you. I said, but for me, seeing that picture of you guys in that embrace, I said, it made me as a fan feel like you were hugging him on behalf of all the people that are supporting him right now. And it was just like a really, really cool thing to see. And, you know, I know they're keeping in contact, and I have, I'll tell you off the podcast what's going on, but some big news for Jack. That's pretty exciting. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And that's Robbie's character. That's just the man he is. That's the person he is. He's, no matter what, he understands that hockey is secondary compared to just life and humanity and people. And he's never lost that. He's always had that. He's always been amazing with fans, always took time. He'd get in trouble with the coaches because he'd sit there and talk to people and make sure he signed everything. And, but at the same time, he wanted to make sure everybody got taken care of. And that's just awesome to hear. And like I said, hockey players don't cry, especially on podcasts.
Look, dude, we said the last time, you and I are at a very similar point in our lives with being the same age and having kids around the same age. And I think the reason why I'm so drawn to Robin's story is the fact that he has young kids and the struggles that he did. And, as a father, I don't know. It's something that I struggle to understand, but I'm glad that, he came out on the right end of it to this point and continues to get the support and love and respect that he deserves. And especially, hopefully gets rewarded with a nice contract here moving forward. Now, before we all both hysterically cry and I have to mute you.
I've been muted already. I muted myself already. There might have been a sniffle or two in there.
Let's talk about how loud the Coliseum was, because I know we talked about this the last time, and I'm not sure if you got to experience it last week, if you're up covering for NHL or not. I don't remember if you were up. But, dude, I've been to a lot of series at the Coliseum, and Game 1 was probably the loudest I've ever heard the Coliseum, especially with Bailey's overtime winner.
It never. I wish I could have been there, because it's watching clips and people tweeting me and sending me clips and this was the loudest part of the series. This was the loudest part of the series. Hammerlick's goal, which is actually kind of funny because I was going to the bench and I never saw that goal. And I just went back and celebrated with him like, oh, that was so loud. When you're in the mix of it, when you're on the ice, it's loud, but you're kind of, hell, at that point, I was just hoping there was an oxygen tank on the bench. I was so tired. And the Bates goal, yeah, that to me, I was on the bench. Like that was the one time where there was 19 of us, that include the coaches. We were all fans at that point. There were 2 guys playing at that point, Joseph and Batesy. So like there was a moment on the bench where we became fans. Like we were up in the seats with everybody else. When people started telling me, like, I was at that game, I swear that Game 1 was louder or this was louder. That blew my effing mind. Blew my mind. Laviolette had to come behind and say, get out there. And we couldn't hear him. He was yelling at us and finally he had to just push us to get out there. It got louder than that. I mean, the bench was shaking. Just to imagine it getting louder is almost beyond belief for me. But there were multiple people that reached out. And hair on the back of my neck stand up. Those are the moments that you live for. Those are the moments you miss as a player. Listening to, I love the Islander fans that support poor Josh Bailey is trying to do an interview, and the Josh Bailey chants behind him. He probably could barely hear what the questions he was being asked. The Sean Bates, I mean, come on. I don't want to say how hard my wife and I were crying when they acknowledged him and came to that. It's just, before I ramble on too long and start crying again, that's what makes that place so special. Your fan base. It's an incredible. It's a family. You really. It's generational. There's very few places you go, and there's going to be more Barzell jerseys, or they're going to be whatever. But you'll see the generation of fans. Not just Bossy, Potvin, Smith, Trottier, Gillies, Nystrom. You'll see Westfall. No, that kind of sounded bad. I love Eddie. Nothing against Eddie. Mr. Westfall. You'll see Blake. You'll see Pelon. You'll see they once that's their generation. Once the fans that's when they, I don't want to say cling on, that's kind of negative, but once they, attach themselves as Islander fans, like that's their generation. And that is so rare, unless it's a superstar, unless you're Bobby Orr in Boston, Ray Bork, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, they're just going to move on to the hottest thing. There's no other fan base in the NHL that does that. And it's so special. And it's really, really cool to be a part of. I love getting text messages from Cairns with a picture of somebody wearing an Okoyen jersey and then a Parrish jersey right in front. Like that, again, we don't cry, but it tugs at our heartstrings. That's so amazing. And for us that we kind of feel like we feel bad because we as players, like, we didn't do anything. You guys had like one of the greatest dynasties, Hall of Famers left and right. Like, why do you guys still care so much about us? That's just the way Islander fans are. And honestly, we cannot thank you enough for it. It's so cool.
Well, look, I look at it like this, and I'll go backwards and talk about one of the first things you said in a second. There was not a lot to cheer for a really long time. And the teams that you were on, in Okoyen and Cairns, you guys gave us something fun to cheer for during a time period when there wasn't really a lot. And I think that's why there's a lot of people who are so attached to you guys. I know that's one of the things for me, especially being a young adult, I guess, and not having much care about anything else but hockey. And
Another thing we had in common.
right. Because now there's too much to worry about. But I think that's the reason why. I still, like, I'm obsessed with hockey. I'm obsessed with this team. Fortunately, I've been blessed to have covered it with a press pass for a long time, and now obviously talk to you on this podcast and some other guys too. But that's the reason why. And again, you shouldn't feel bad. And I know I'm talking on behalf of everyone else, but at least to me. So, but
the older we get, the more proud we are, honestly. And again, that's because of all the amazing fans out there.
One of the coolest moments of this series, and I said I was going to go backwards because I don't want you to cry anymore. I don't want to cry.
Oh, don't worry. I got the mute button right here.
Good. The Josh Bailey chant, and I brought this up to Section 329 the other day. I think that is the most unique thing in the entire world, and I'm a big Bailey guy. I've been since I interviewed him at the draft. Was one of the first players I got kind of attached to, and I brought this up to you in the past. And for him to acknowledge it and for it to catch on, for the whole arena to chant it in unison, like, I almost lost it that night. That was so cool. You could hear it during Mike Sullivan's press conference downstairs over him talking. which I thought was really funny in retrospect, but that's how loud it was. And I just, I I can't even like get it out
Again,
how cool
so
it is.
makes it, and thank you, all of you, and yourself, and all the Islander fans. I mean, I think I'm going to go change my name to Josh Bailey. I mean, that's just so damn cool. I mean, that's what we all, and he's such a great kid too. And I think there was a lot of unfair criticism, but it's pro sports. That happens during a guy's career. That is what it is. And the good thing is we're ready for that. That's why most of us have thick skins, just because you just kind of move on with it. So for him to get this now, for him to get that acknowledgement, those like you can't take that away. That sticks with forever. And I'm sure, to be honest with you, in the back of my mind, if I was him, God, if I could only get the Rangers to chant Bailey sucks. Like, my God, Potvin sucks. How awesome is that? He still gets that. The Panthers come to town and they chant it. How long has it been since he played for the Islanders? And it's still one of the first things you hear when you like. That's so awesome. Like, talk about a memory. Talk about lasting, the legacy. When you get things like that from an opposing team, that is awesome. When you get that from your home team, like Josh Bailey getting, that's just love. And that's beyond a hope from a player. That's almost one of those where you're sitting on the bench and somebody's like, "Hey, you hear that?" You might be focused on, like, somebody probably elbowed him, like, "Hey, you hear that? Like, what, is that my name? Yeah, that's your name." That's what they're chanting. To make it to a press conference in the postseason, I mean, that's storybook for us. It's beyond our wildest dreams. That's beyond our imagination. He is still in the thick of things, and especially right now in the playoffs, he better not be thinking about that. But he will, as he gets older, and a non-crier, like a retired guy like me. Oh, I don't have the words for things like that. It's awesome.
Me either. That's why I just sit here and listen to you.
Just ramble.
No, it's not rambling. Your episode was one of the most popular ones the first time you were on here.
Wait, does that mean I have to make another drink?
Well, I'm drinking water, so.
Yeah, me too.
But, I did have to listen to you make a drink the last time, if that's what you're referencing, unless you're
what I
out
was
right
referencing.
now.
That's what I was referencing. That
okay,
cracked me up.
I'll wait.
No.
Anyway, let's talk about the Barclays here, which is a very unique situation to only the New York Islanders. Why would we want it any other way? Do you know that they still have not released tickets to the general public yet? They only had a pre-sale for full and partial season ticket holders. That was Wednesday and Thursday, or Thursday and Friday, rather. So you have guys like me who do not have season tickets anymore. I cannot buy a ticket yet because of the Barclays.
What now?
Yeah, that's one of the many strange things of the way that the season here with the home influx is causing just weird decisions.
Speaking with the Animal House boys, Batesy, Webby, Kenzie, even Isbister was in on the text chain, and they're kind of talking about it. And no criticism at all. But Lou is a guy that's kind of, once you start going in a direction, like, you just keep it that way. Like, not necessarily superstitious, but why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's absolutely a pipe dream, but we're actually still hoping that they switch it back to Coliseum.
Yeah, from everything
it's
that
a
I've
total
heard.
pipe dream. We know it's never going to happen. They already announced it. This is something that's bigger than hockey ops, above even the hockey ops pay grade. But man, They just swept Pittsburgh. Why change anything? Why change up the routine? That's why teams stay in the same hotel at home and, get away from the family. That's why, it's just one of those things that after this start, why would you do that? Now, I wasn't superstitious. It wouldn't bother me that much. But then again, I never won a effing playoff round in my career.
Came close though.
Fucking Tucker.
But yeah, so I'm not concerned from a noise standpoint. I know the fans will still show up. I mean, hell, I live 3 hours from Brooklyn and I plan on showing up if I can acquire tickets, that is, that I don't have to mortgage my house for. But
I still don't get that. That's weird.
yeah. So, I mean, I was there in 2016. It was loud when they beat Florida in overtime. Your former alma mater there. And but just stupid. Everything about this is stupid. It's been stupid from day one, and I know it's really beyond anybody's control. But come on, like you just said, like they swept Pittsburgh, and now they have to go there, which is familiar for them. But they haven't played there since December, or
Yep.
or at least November. But geez, I don't understand.
Yeah. And the one good thing, and no offense to the whole ticket thing, that's so far off the players' radar. And that's like, you know what I mean? So like, that's the one good thing. I don't get it. But again, I never made those decisions even when I was playing. But yeah, like but the routine has changed now. It's not, that's right by the practice rink. They're driving themselves in. Maybe, I don't know if anybody takes the train, whatever it is. All of a sudden, their routine for home games has changed. They've got the time is different now. Like, all right, well, I got to take my nap a little bit earlier. I got to eat a little bit earlier or whatever it is. There's going to be some kind of change in their routine. And again, they just swept Pittsburgh. Do we really need to do that?
I mean, I think I saw Trott's comment on the potential. I mean, obviously, this is, I think, what they did in 2016 as well. But that was prior to where the practice rink was, because I think they were still in Syosset at the time. But you've got them potentially now staying at a hotel in Brooklyn. You've got practice at the rink instead of at the practice facility. So I'm sure they're going to treat it like it's a road series at home, which is kind of unfortunate.
But I like that. I think that's the right play.
I'm not saying that it's not. It's just, again, though, like you were saying, routines. But then again, you treat it like it's a road routine, I'm sure, and that's just me as a non-professional player kind of speculating.
Yeah. And for me, I guess it's more the atmosphere, especially for whoever it is they come in and play. The Coliseum is an atmosphere. Barclay, I don't doubt the Islanders fans at all that the Barclays might turn into one rowdy place as well. It's just something about the Coliseum, the banners, the feeling, the lore. The ghosts of Islanders past. Oh God, that's bad. I don't think Clarkie and Bobby Nye are still alive. The banners, everything. You can feel the history in that rink. You don't get that same feeling at Barclays. You just don't. It's has been the Islanders' home, but it really kind of hasn't. They're already moving to another rink. Well, hopefully that break ground on it this summer. But I'm kind of torn. I understand as a professional, as hockey players, they'll be fine. They'll get through it. They just swept Pittsburgh. How many times do I got to say that?
Not only that, but the energy, and again, I just said from like the fans tailgating prior, and running into, some of the greats. Like I saw Billy Smith and Clark Gillies, like you just mentioned Clark. But I got a picture with Billy Smith and he spilled my beer on me.
Billy Smith spilled a beer?
On me, my beer. And I said, it's okay.
He was trying to steal it from you, wasn't he?
No, I said, it's okay. I was in your crease, so it's fine.
Oh, he was way meaner than that. Oh, Billy was awesome. He was my first. He was a goalie coach in Florida. Denny Pott, and I was doing the color in Florida. Billy Smith was the first goalie coach. Those two, along with Dino Cicerelli, helped mold kind of me as a player. And then who would have known 2 years later I'd get traded to the Islanders?
There you go.
And then they'd rub in, hey, did you see my banner? Did you see my banner? Oh, I love hockey, guys. Oh, it's just awesome. Yeah, it just I'm not too worried about where they're playing, the way that team is, the way they're committed to each other. I don't, the lights, what building it is, and they didn't care that they were in Pittsburgh. They went about and did their business.
Let's talk real quick before we hit the hour mark on second round opponents and who you
didn't we go over that last time?
No.
The hour mark.
Oh, yes. It's fine. Whatever. It's not like I pay by the gigabyte or minute or whatever.
What's a gigabyte?
Megabyte.
I mean,
gigabyte, terabyte.
Oh, that's a technology thing. I have a phone. I'm horrible at I have officially become my father. I have to ask my 9-year-old to help me out with my computer.
Do you have dad sneakers? The white Adidas or Reebok, just plain white?
I'll send you a picture later.
Come on, man. Even I have cool shoes.
Why aren't they cool? They're comfy as hell. I go from my Crocs to my white Adidas.
You had a fantastic suit on NHL Network. I did like it.
Thank you. I haven't bought a suit in about 15 years. That's all my wife, and she appreciates the compliment.
You also tie a tie really nice. I have to say that.
All right, that one I'm taking credit for.
I always look at that. It's like one of my pet peeves.
I'm horrible, and I'm constantly, as soon as that camera goes off, I'm fidgeting. Dave, is this tie straight? Kevin, is this Weeks? Come on, is this tie straight? I'm constantly concerned that thing isn't straight. I don't know why that bothers me so much.
You want to look good, man. You want to look good. You're not wearing a jersey and a helmet, so people could see you. So that's important. But before we really, really, really get way off track, because it's already going down that path again, and that's why I love you so much, because you could just talk about anything and it's fun. But give me your pick for who do you think the Islanders are going to match up best against in the second round? Because I'm hoping at this point people are still listening and they haven't fast forwarded.
Oh, man. The hockey mindset is you got to beat them all. We have to beat everyone to raise the cup. So, talking with Anders Lee a little bit today, and Brock Nelson the other day, they don't give a rat's ass. It's not about them. This time of year is not about their opponent. It's about the team. It's the team that raises Lord Stanley's Cup is the team that is most committed to their system, their style, to each other, and believe in each other and themselves. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. There's multiple systems out there that have won Stanley Cups. It's the team that is committed to theirs that makes it all the way. So I got to be honest with you. They play the way they did against Pittsburgh. It doesn't matter. It's that they can roll 4 lines. If you notice Matt Martin and Cizikas as much as you notice, minus the goals, like the normal 5-on-5 play of Barzal, of Bailey, of Nelson, of whoever, it doesn't matter. It's all about them. It's not about their opponent.
I could see that, but for me, I think the Islanders match up a little better against the Capitals. I think you've got a coach in Trotz who obviously knows their systems and their personnel better than anybody, possibly even better than their own coach.
Possibly.
And then you've got Carolina, who their goaltending might be a little questionable as much as it's looked pretty good, but they're a very fast team. They're very similar to the Islanders, and they're kind of employing the same type of systems against Washington. And I think you're going to see a couple of teams do that. I mean, that's pretty much what Tortorella saw playing the Islanders and said, you know what, I think I'm going to do the same thing as Trotz. And just Carolina scares me a little bit more offensively. And I know that's really, really stupid saying that when you compare them to the Capitals with who they have, but I just feel like their game is better suited for the Capitals over Carolina. As much as they even have played Carolina really good during the regular season, but the team Carolina is right now is the same as what the Islanders are. They weren't the same team even a month ago. Well, I mean, Carolina was because they were awesome down the stretch, but
Okay. I completely agree with that analogy. Let's go, put a different factor into it. Do you really want Ovechkin, Holtby, Backstrom, Kuznetsov fired the F up facing their old coach?
well, Barry said you got to go through the effing island.
Again, Ovechkin, one of the greatest goal scorers. I mean, these guys have won the cup.
I know.
As much as Carolina and the Islanders match up, I like the Islanders' depth. I'm pretty impressed with Carolina, what they're doing, because they do not have the depth that Washington and the Islanders do.
Okay.
I don't want to get one of the greatest goal scorers of all time fired up because all he wants to do is beat his old coach. I don't want Braden Holtby getting all. Those are those X factors. That's where it becomes personal. Not necessarily in a bad way. Not that they disrespect Trotz, but come on. I mean, that's their old coach. That's like how many players get traded and then they go back and play against their old team and they're unbelievable. I mean, they're flying. They're just balls to the walls. They got so much energy. They're playing just some of the best games ever. Becomes personal. I don't think we want it to become personal with Ovechkin and whatnot. That being said, obviously Oshie, they're not the Washington of last year. So I completely understand and agree with your analogy on the ice. But at the same time, it's, don't wake up a sleeping tiger.
I respect that, and I agree with it once you lay it out like that. I think for the storyline aspect of things, and I probably shouldn't think of things like that, but the revenge tour here, I think is just an interesting thing. And, as much as you've got guys fired up on the one end, you're telling me that the Islanders are not going to want to get a win over their coach's former team, especially if it means knocking them out and having a better a chance at winning the cup themselves. I wasn't a pro. You got to tell me in your view, but that's the way that I see it.
Yes, they would definitely want to. They would definitely want to stand up for their coach. That's one of the reasons they're playing so well. There has got to be a part of Ovechkin, of Holtby, of Backstrom, of Kuznetsov, of everyone, Wilson, that's flat out fucking pissed off that their coach left them after winning a Stanley Cup. I mean, pissed off. They did that together. They did that as a team. They finally achieved that after underachieving and question marks for years. And then in their eyes, coach left. I mean, just take away the negotiations, the contract, whatever. The coach left them. That's the way they see it. Don't wake a sleeping tiger. I'll take Carolina. I mean, they're enthusiastic. They're young. They're having fun. We're talking about Ovechkin. We're talking about Hall of Famers here. I mean, arguably, halfway through the year, we're talking about someone that legit has a chance. He's almost as old as we are, and he just scored 50 effing goals.
It's true.
Do we really want him pissed off? Do we want Kuznetsov with the year he had? And these guys they're not really playing all that great right now. Let's just let them fade off into the sunset after the first round and see what Carolina can do, because I don't think they have the depth that the Islanders do. And again, don't take a look at my bracket.
Oh, we're going to post a picture of it as soon as you're done.
Damn it. it's one of those things that there's not personal in a bad way, but there's certain things that become personal. That's personal to those guys. We talk about the character. We talk about how much this team cares about each other. That goes not just to the players. That goes to the coaching staff as well. They won a Stanley Cup. Ovechkin, monkey off his back, everything. And his coach is now coaching the Islanders. I mean, there's certain things that you just don't. I mean, ask Svechnikov how Ovechkin is when he gets pissed off.
I cannot believe that he would even challenge him to a fight. I mean, I know they know each other off the ice, and I'm pretty sure I read that Ovechkin is actually really good friends with the Svechnikov's brother.
He got in the face of a Russian god. This is about respect. I mean, yes, that's the hockey mentality, but at the same time, what are you doing even staring at him nose to nose? I wouldn't do that to Gretzky. Not that I wouldn't fight Gretzky anyway. Who the hell am I kidding? Actually, that would be one of the most boring fights ever. But, or Mario, like, there's just a respect thing. I mean, he had to have been shocked. I guarantee you there's never been another Russian that's ever, like, just stood there and stared at him nose to nose. I bet he was as stupefied as the rest of us were, especially when he kicked his ass.
Just optically, that just not good. And I'm sure he's never going to do that again.
Ovi feels bad for sure. I mean, even though he's just apologized, he didn't mean like Bugard. I mean, the guys, even the big boys, they know how bad it could happen. Cairnsey, nobody wants to hurt each other because they know how quickly they could be on the other end. One punch, and they're on the other end. It's their job, and they do it. Well, that's certainly not his job. But wow, that was impressive.
I don't know what's going to happen here, and obviously the fact that they're in the second round means great things. They just got to bring it like we've been talking about and see where it takes them. I'm sure that they believe that they can beat anybody, and they're at the mercy of sitting here and waiting for them to beat the crap out of each other to get out of the first round themselves. So I guess we'll see what's going to happen here by next week. Hopefully
it's sooner rather than later.
Well, we know it can't go past 7 games, so we have that going for us. Because that's one of those series, if there was, it would just keep going.
Right? It's like when I kept losing at ping pong with my dad. Okay, best of 15.
Yeah. All right, well, Mark, you're going to have to send me a picture of your bracket so I can make fun of you and maybe put a crying emoji over it.
And my white Adidas.
Your white Adidas and your Crocs. Although the coolest part about your picture, I believe your dog was just chilling in the background.
Yeah, Thor's pretty awesome. He's the only one in the family that actually listens to me.
I hear you.
Right. Oh man, it's always good talking to you, Michael. I appreciate it. And when are we doing episode 37? A couple weeks then, I suppose, or a few weeks?
Maybe it'll be in round 3. You never know.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'll probably pull out all my hair and my beard will be super gray because I'm not shaving, even though I'm not playing.
Hey, I'm living vicariously through him there as well. I made it to Game 7 once in the first round, so I don't even know what a playoff beard looks like on me.
Were you even able to grow facial hair at the time?
Did you talk to Batesy before this?
No, I would love to have him on.
Just peach fuzz. Just peach fuzz. Oh, maybe that could be a good one for 37.
Yeah, that would be great.
You want to have Batesy by himself.
No, I think it would be great to have you and whoever else just sitting around shooting the shit. That's the first time I've ever cursed on the podcast. Excuse me, everyone.
Fucking rights.
Playoffs, baby.
I'm a hockey player. I swear all the time. So I apologize to whoever I offended.
It's okay. I'll just mark it as explicit like I did the last time.
So you really have. That's awesome. I'm kind of proud of that.
Yeah. It was the first episode. I was like, why the hell is this not on iTunes? And then I listened through and you dropped an F-bomb and I was like, oh, okay.
Hey, Robbie Leonard did it on national TV. You gotta mark it as explicit?
Yep. I do.
That's not fair.
It's Apple.
That's not fair.
It's Apple, man.
They rule the world.
So listen, so send me your bracket. I'll make fun of you. And then I'll give you a hug. It's fine.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. We'll get together again soon. Everyone out there listening, if you're still listening at this point, this has been the Isles Faithful Podcast. I am your host, as always, Michael Sherline. This has been episode 33. Mark, why don't you throw out your socials over there? And I believe you're on another podcast as well, which I've listened to from time to time. So why don't you throw that out there for our listeners?
Yeah, it's a Parrish Fletcher podcast on Twitter at PF Podcast, I believe, and myself is at Mark D. Parrish on Twitter. And I'm barely learning that, so I'm not on any other social media. I love Islanders questions, so please hit me up.
He also loves movie quotes because we tend to do that almost every single day.
Love it. That's all we did. Nap, hockey, movies.
Yes. So anyway, you can follow me at Isles Blogger. You can follow the show at Faithful Isles. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Google Podcasts. We're on Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, TuneIn, a whole bunch of other ones. At this point, you already know I can't remember all of them. So they're on the homepage. You could actually stream the show on the homepage as well. We have a Facebook page at The Isles Faithful, I believe. We have an Instagram, all that good stuff. We're also on
There's
YouTube.
that many social media things?
It's annoying, and I'm sure like people get tired of me talking about it, but whatever. So this has been episode 33. Thank you for listening. And Mark, why don't you take us out with a Let's Go Islanders?
Let's go Islanders. Yes, yes, yes.
Let's go Islanders.